Okay. Somebody wanted to ask a question? Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. I don't know if you will tell us something about the underwater resource, the recharge of aquifers, and how this part of the water interact in all that you said before.
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I don't work in groundwater. We are starting to do something on a beach about that, but it's not. I have really very little knowledge of the issue, so unfortunately, I cannot speak even a little intelligent about that. So that's sorry for that. So I should have deleted that part in the title. All about water except groundwater. Okay. Well, I was. It's difficult to pick up when we couldn't follow the idea. What I'm gonna explain you a little bit now for this part of the talk, I'm gonna show you some papers, somewhat as examples of results of this thing we have been done. So just to give you an idea of what kind of things can be done, but that doesn't mean that these are the only things we do or they can be done. Just give you examples so you can really find out if in your own research you can do something similar. See? Don't copy me, just do your own one. Yes. Anyway, this is a place where I was talking to you. This is a very interesting place in the sense that Pehuenco is a very small village, very natural in the human sense. No, it's a small town, small number of people, just people that like pavement. The highway is paved until the entrance of the town. Nobody wants the roads to be paved in the town. Because that's the kind of towns. Montehermoso, on the other hand, is a big resort city. So it's a complete different kind of concepts in tourism. No? And so this is so I'm going to show you one work we did in Montehermoso. You see, that's the difference. That's a part of Montehermoso. That's the kind of beach. That's a place in which all the dune system has been completely destroyed. Even though, for example, Pehuenco has a lot of outcrops on the beach, no, and the volume of sediment is much smaller than in Montehermoso. Actually, the erosion in Montehermoso is much higher than in Pehuenco, just only because in Pehuenco we left the dunes. Still is being eroded, but the rate of erosion is much slower. No, and so that's the kind of things you can see over there. And what we did, one of the works we did here in Montehermoso, just to give you some idea of the town, and people, and this is very interesting, this area, because between Pehuenco and Montehermoso, this is a unique place because it has a paleontological reserve in which they have footprints of megatheriums, birds, all from 12,000 years ago, and macrauchenias, different type of animals already extinct. But as we move from here, the rocks are about 12,000 years ago old. We move to more younger rocks, and then close to Montehermoso, we have footprints of the original natives, 6,000 years ago. So in all this stretch, we have this type of interesting structures. It's a reserve, natural reserve. And this is about 10 kilometers from the west, to the west, was the place where Darwin went in 1832 and took out from the rocks over there the first megatherium fauna. And he wrote in his diary that he started to think about the evolution theory right there. So that's a historical place. For example, when was the 200 years anniversary of Darwin, even the grandson of Darwin came here to this place just for the anniversary to show the importance of this place. It's a really important part. So this is how it looks, the place where they have the footprints, no? Which are on the beach, and the waves are on top of that. So they are being eroded by the waves. So it's a really serious problem we have there. Then, you see, this is the paper we published about last year, trying to figure out how much people can be on the beach in one moment. So what's the beach carrying capacity? So that's a kind of analysis, because you really have to understand what is the capacity of the place and how much people you have over there. So and that goes to the management of the beach, in the sense, the people of the town will decide, okay, how I can stretch the area where the people go to the beach, because the people tend to concentrate in downtown areas. And then you increase the capacity, the amount of people, but you can exceed the capability of the beach to sustain such amount of people, which is very tough, because you have to change all the services in the city to do. For example, parking. People come with cars. They have to park in some place. How you do that? Where you put the people? So those kind of things are not simple stuff that happens in this type of place. No? And then what we did is a study of one area. This is the whole city, and we divided the facilities in high, moderate, and low, and there were some special zones about it. For example, vehicle entrance accommodation, considering the hotels, recreation areas, parking, fishing zones, dune zones, or rocks. It was divided by that. And then that's what it looks like in a typical summer day. It's a lot of people. So you really is in comparison with you go to Pehuenco, and this is a city that during the year has 6,000 people. During summer you can get a million. Whereas in Pehuenco you have 700 people, and in a weekend you can get 30,000 people. So it's the big difference in the concept. And then what we did is study the accommodations, all the information regarding this is all well done in a GIS system. So we were working that. And then what happens? We have a camera here, and we were monitoring the beach and counting people. We work with a lab in imaging analysis, and so we develop a software to identify people, no, and count the people. So that's the kind of thing. So what we did is, and not only that, is how many users we have in some place in the beach. We can count them over there and follow them, for example. You see how it works, this? You see, we keep back, and so we can follow the people. I didn't bring I have another movie. I couldn't find it in my computer, but you can see, we track this guy here. You can follow the track of this guy walking, for example. So you can really see what is the path, where the people concentrate, and what they do, and how many, at what time they go to the beach, or how many go to the beach in that place or not. So these are the kind of things. So you can really keep tracking of that. Besides that, I'm not showing this. This part is not. But actually, the original part of this work is that when we started, we didn't care about the people. We were caring about the waves, no? And we were trying to analyze, for example, the dynamics. So we were doing averaging of the images. So we are taking 2 minutes films, stretches of the film, and doing averaging of the images. Try to figure out, for example, the presence of what we call edge waves, for example. Edge waves are important. It's a wave you don't see. The only way to see is like this or measure, and they are important in defining, for example, the presence of rip currents. Rip currents is a place where the people get drowned. Not because they drown because of the rip current, it's because they get tired swimming against the current. So if you go like today, after this big lunch, we go over the beach, enter the beach, and we get trying for the rip current. I start swimming back to the beach. Then you actually get a heart attack rather than drown. One, the solution, because these rip currents are only maybe 5 meters wide, so the solution is just swimming parallel to the beach, and then just relax and let the waves to bring you back to the beach. That's as simple as that. But that's the kind of things we teach to the lifeguard over there. These the Baywatch people over there. We teach those things to them so they can really select the places where the rip currents are, and so they flag the places. Well, that's the kind of things. For example, well, this is going to be a potpourri of things. For example, this is another meeting. This is a meeting with the fishermen I was talking to you before. And we have here one of the representatives of this black community in Colombia talking to the fishermen in Argentina about what is community management. So and so they were so enthusiastic that actually convinced them to start thinking about community management of the artisanal fishery over there. But other things we do, for example, with the people, is, for example, do some kind of photography contests, for example, or drawings for the kids of the schools. There's a contest for kids to draw. For example, one we did is how you see your community in the future. So, and ask them to draw something, kids from elementary school, how to draw what they think is going to be their community in the future. So that's the kind of the activities we do with children. I will show you some examples of the type of work we do in what we call in education, talking with kids. This is, for example, another paper we published a few years ago. For example, what happened is, you see, this is Bahía Blanca estuary, extremely complex place. I always say that it's a place for maybe 100 researchers for about 10 reincarnations, because I don't want to miss the fun, because it's extremely complex. No? And for example, what happens here is a few years ago, something like 10 years, no, 6, 7 years ago, you see, this is one of the largest harbors, deep water harbors in the country. Most of our agricultural production and part of the industrial production goes out from this harbor you have here. This is the main Navy base of the country. So these have several harbors around this place. And the interesting thing is they wanted to build a harbor at the head of the estuary where they want to put a natural liquid gas plant. So they were expecting to bring ships with gas tanks from Jamaica or Venezuela over there and download the liquid gas to convert to gas to service the country, of course, no? And this place over there is a very interesting place because, for instance, in this estuary has a difference from many other estuaries in the world, is that the phytoplankton bloom, instead of occurring in summer, occurs in winter. This is about the time it's occurring the phytoplankton bloom. And occurs right there, here, in this part of the estuary. And it's very interesting because this is a period of calm. We are a very windy place. No? In the spring, we have an average of 20 kilometers per hour average wind, and it reaches 60, 70 normally. So it's a normal wind. But in winter, we have calm days. And then what happens? The waves that they form within the estuary, which is a very short wave length, but very steep, they are very erosive. And they erode the tidal flats over there, and they create a lot of turbidity in the water. But that is normally along the year. But during the winter, since we don't have wind, the wave activity is low, turbidity drops, and you have more light penetration, so you have more phytoplankton activities. No? But this phytoplankton is the initiation of the trophic change for all this estuary. It's the only place that occurs. If they were going to dredge the channel, they were going to destroy completely the ecosystem. And in the sense, they were going to kill completely all the fauna of the estuary because of this phytoplankton bloom will not occur. So we started, besides a lot of opposition from the public, everything, we tried to calculate how much is the ecosystem service that we were going to lose because of doing the dredging over there. So that's the type of paper. This is the paper. Actually, we were trying to estimate what was the social cost that the dredging, because we have there, for example, artisanal fisheries. So we were, all these artisanal fisheries, they normally fish shrimp and other fishes, but mostly shrimp and palm. They will lose their jobs. No? So we did the estimation. So this is the type of boats we have. This is the area where we were doing the fishery. There are many interesting fauna. For example, the Franciscana dolphin, which is unique of this area. It's in a dangerous situation. So that's part of the condition that we weren't going to lose on that place. No, so we have more idea what this thing. And where we analyzed what were the benefits and costs of the dredging process, and we actually did the calculation in dollars of how much money we're going to lose based on the loss of the jobs, depending on the conditions, depending on what were the scenarios that we were deciding to have. What an optimistic scenario, we're going to lose something like $5 million in a few years. In the worst conditions, over $7 million, just trying to keep up with these people. there was something like 1,500 people that were depending on this job. And what we do with them when the system collapses. So this is the kind of calculation you do working with, for example, with economists. This is ecosystem service analysis, for example. That's to show you a little bit about the marshes on this area and the tidal floods and the things over there. Yeah. This is another work that we have done. It's just giving you only examples about the type of work. This is a paper in preparation. It's about this is about the. You remember I talked to you about the Sauce Grande River Basin, in which we could not get the decision makers and the stakeholders together. Well, this is the result of all this work and activities and the participatory research that we did in the watershed. Well, we finally come out with this paper, or we are planning to this paper. It's in the writing process. Somebody was asking me today, we were not accustomed, especially natural scientists, to work with people or with social science people, etc. What is? My answer was, in an egoist point of view, what is your win? You get more papers. That's an interesting thing. Just think about that. You get published more. Okay, more citations. Your job, your boss will think, oh, look, what productive you are. Okay, that's fine. No? But that's the kind of thing. So that's the work we did here in the Sauce Grande. This is the basin. This is the dam. I told you this is the dam that's providing water to Bahia Blanca, which Bahia Blanca is about here, which is outside of the basin. And it has its own estuary, which is in Montermoso. It has a nice lake, shallow lake over there. And you see, that's the type of structure we work in the flow diagram of how we work out the structure of the participatory research. No? How we do the workshops with non-decision makers, with decision makers, and then when we then go together them. What happens is we normally have the first workshop and try to get them a good feeling. We just tell them a little bit of what we know about the area. Then we start talking with them about what are their problems, what is the ideas, etc. There are a lot of games or activities that we do, even in small groups or in large groups, in which we do all interactive type of activities, just filling cards and putting on the board. Those kind of things always is a very interesting interaction with the people, and you can see there's a type of activity where all together we are presenting the results or working here in activities, and then we move to a next step. The other meeting is just going more into working the solutions. And then we have a final meeting in which we show them what are the results of all the discussion. When we analyze all the situation, how were the answers, all the activities, we finally have a workshop in which we show them what are the conclusions of what they have done, and see if they can really move forward from them. From then on, you can take by the hand the people like a kid up to a certain moment. Then you have to get them out and allow them to move by themselves. They know that we are backing them all the time, but we cannot go go with them in presenting the final solution. We can help them, but in sometimes they had to maturate and be by themselves. What we try to do is teach them how to do that in our community for the way. Because in some countries, like in the particular case in Argentina, there is no sense of community, completely. There's basically no sense of community. It's very difficult to have, so people are more thinking by themselves. Or how I will save myself before saving the rest of the group. So what we try to build is that change in concept. That's the type of results here we get. But you have this type of activities in which we for example, fill up maps or things. For example, in this case, this was in Colombia. I remember the case of a very old man, something like some late 70s, that knew all this history of the place. And he was making the timeline of how the place, the community, has evolved along his life. And what he remembered from his father or grandfather. So we were getting information back from maybe 80 years of the evolution of the place. And we have kids there, high school kids, that were learning from this guy that probably never heard from him. And he was teaching them what was the history of their own town. So that's the kind of things that really you build up and really feel very enthusiastic about. Yes, please.
Professor, I would like to ask if you believe this kind of participatory research you are doing suffers from some kind of resistance or rejection in peer-reviewed natural sciences journals, the traditional journals where
it's extremely difficult to publish. For example, this paper on the participatory research, we already went for this is the third or fourth time we are rewriting it. Okay. Because it's very difficult to find out. The point is where to publish.
Yes.
Because there are some journals that are more natural, and they don't really are very
close-minded.
They really doesn't like to have people in the middle. Okay. And on the other side, you have the social science journals that they don't want to know about the natural science.
Okay.
So, and there are not too many journals, or there are very few journals, like, for example, Ecology and Society, which is a very good journal, okay. But they get so many papers that they get a high rejection rate.
Oh, right.
No? And the other problem that we have, especially for us Latin American people, in these high impact journals, is that I kind of obliged to put our research in an international framework. So they force you to work in the introduction in some way to show that your work is international, but otherwise they will tell you, no, just publish in a regional journal. No? But what happens is, if you go, I'm in the editorial board of several journals, international journals. And so when I get to review a paper from the United States or Europe, which is about a subject that is local, I told them, just put me this paper in the international frame. So I reject the paper. Because they actually are rejecting our papers because they think it's too regional. But for them, a paper in the United States is local. So they don't care, but for them it's international. So I'm sorry for the Americans or Europeans here, but it's actually the truth what is happening. And so we are forced twice, because we had to write in English, and we had to write very good English, which we don't have. And then, so we had to pay extra to somebody, a guy that will correct our English. And then we had to put our research in an international way. So, and the other way around, they publish our local stuff. They don't have problems with the English, so they can publish more than us. See, that's the kind of the situation you are going to be seeing in the future of your life. I have seen already. That's why I'm really fascinated for this.
But this kind of study is difficult to publish until in local journals.
Oh, yeah.
I have a similar work, and I have problems in journals from here from Brazil.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, that's something that you have to fight about that, because that is a way forward. Because now, if you're going to get a funds for a grant, if you don't put the social science into the project, you are not going to get funds. So that's something that you have to really start thinking about that. That's a way forward. You cannot do something research about the mosquito from some place and only about how many legs has the mosquito. You have to think about who is going to bite the mosquito and what is going to happen to him. So that's the point. But you have more examples of these meetings in which we actually, you see, it's a round table. You see me here, so you know that I'm sitting there, no? And well, that's a kind of results. You can look at this in the PowerPoint in the PDF. I will not go through all the results. But for example, one of the things the people. So we asked what are the kind of problems they get with the decision maker, for example. One of the problems that always come out strongly is corruption. It happens in every place. But you see that this is what the local people feel that are being affected by the most. So they don't have enough legislation for the protection of the environment, or not only that, they know that even if they have the legislation, they don't have the people who controls the situation, like the rangers. For example, in the case of this reserve that we have in Pehuenco, in Montermoso, for example, last month, the 3 rangers that were working over there, they were being paid once every 6 months. No? Last year, Christmas, they had rice for food for Christmas because they didn't have enough money to buy. So they left. So now we have new rangers that came. Probably they're going to get paid much better. But the problem is that these rangers, they are doing for fun. The difference is they get paid much less than me because I'm doing this for fun, but I actually get some salary. But they do it for fun, but they don't get a salary. And they have to live on that. So this is the kind of things. So how they can protect you? They don't have even a bike to go to the place. They have to walk 3 kilometers to go to the post, and then they have this area has 6 kilometers, so they have to walk along these 6 kilometers to keep track if nobody goes and do any harm of the place. So this is the kind of thing. So people that have to keep safe the place are the less paid. So this is the kind of problems you have. So, but other problems like urban pollution or water infrastructure, what happened with the tourists, those kind of things. For example, in this place, we have a kind of another problem with the people who own the big estancias, the ranches, the big estancias. So, for example, they take pump water from the river for irrigation, but they are not allowed to do that. So when we asked them to come to the meeting, there was one people who came. When a guy from an NGO started to talk, he stand up and walk out. And so we had to work with them specifically. We had to work in a very a special place, or working by internet, just doing a survey by internet to learn what were their problems because they didn't want to meet with anybody. It was impossible to meet with them because they felt they were completely the aggression from the stakeholders, even for the decision makers, was too large.
How do you contact them? How do you contact them?
These people, as farmer, we just or either go to the place or have a friend of a friend. So, for example, in Bahía Blanca, in this area, you have only 1 degree of difference. So you always know somebody that knows somebody. Just only 1 degree. Maybe here you have 6 degrees, but in our place, it's 1 degree. I know basically everybody in Bahía Blanca just by knowing somebody else. So it's relatively easy to do that. In smaller places, it's much easier. Of course, this is easy in smaller places. In a large city, it's basically impossible. No? Okay, that's the kind of things. Well, that's a part of the results we were getting. So, for example, the tourist period in summer this is a very big tourist area. So really, it's very important because it changed completely the pollution. For example, one of the problems we found over there is that, for example, how do you call where they bring all the trash. So how do you call that? The landfill is about 500 meters from the river. They have 2 cemeteries about 100 meters from the river. No, and this water goes directly to the dam where we got the water for the city. So that's a kind of problems you have about pollution of things. So, but some things of this you learn only because you talk with the people, because nobody will tell you. But this is another work we did, for example, in a small shallow lake in the south of Argentina. Well, we published. Turkish Management is a good journal to publish. It's very nice. It takes a while, but that's fine. We actually analyzed the ecosystem provision of the tourists in this small town, a small lake. It's a very shallow lake, very small, so about something like 4 square kilometers, 4 meters deep, very nice, beautiful area. They have a small town. We have a Sociedad de Fomento that keeps track. It's a local management people that really keeps track of the place. We put the first buoy, we put it over there, and they took the buoy as a kind of a pet. The buoy is their pet, no, and keep them. They actually are the more worried of the pet than ourselves. They just keep looking for them. That every time they have a problem, they call us. Everything. So it's a very nice group of people, easy to work with them. So we do use different type of climatic analysis. This is pictures of this area. It's a beautiful place. And we try to analyze, and we try to analyze the influence of the weather conditions, the climatic conditions on the tourist activity over there. We have data about how many people went to do tourists over there, what they were doing, and working, correlating that information with the data we have from the climate information. That's the kind of thing. This lake is a very interesting thing because it's a salty lake in the middle of the Pampas. The salinity is 40. Remember, salinity has no units. It's 40. It's about very high salinity. And the fish is silver pejerrey. Silver, ¿cómo se llama en inglés? Well, silver something is the name of the fish in English. It's pejerrey in castellano. But this has an endemic species because it has all the characteristics of the freshwater pejerrey, but it behaves like a marine pejerrey. No, so it's a very strange. Even the DNA is completely equal to the freshwater one, but it has completely different. For example, the funny thing is, in freshwater, the pejerrey is being fished on the surface. So the people who go to do fishing, I'm not a fisherman at all, but what they told me is they fish with things with the hooks near the surface. But this one lives in the bottom. So people that doesn't know that, go with a normal system, and they don't get anyone. They don't fish. So, wow, what a terrible place. Why you bring me here? Because I couldn't fish anything. But then if you go and fish with the bottom hooks, you get a lot. So it's a complete different with other lakes in the area. And this is endemic of this place. We have no idea how it got there. No way. So there are the fish people of our group are trying to work for this for about 5 years already. I have no idea how this fish develop over there. So that's a kind of original things you have over there. Well, we study the geomorphology of the lake and how it changed during the time using imaginary satellites. The interaction with the Colorado River, which is the one this river I told you they did the dam, and then the Colorado means the red river. It was before the dam was a red river because it has so much suspended sediment that it was red. Now it's a black river because all the sediment got into the dam. So downstream of the river, you have nice, clear water. And part of this water gets through a channel through here. And then that's the type of workshop we did with them, the same thing, the same kind of activities that we were doing. This is my wife, of course. We work together. We direct the team together, so that's just to show you that is a direct participation. Probably she's looking to me. I had to show that. And this is the type of things you see. And then we calculate this is the typical things you find over there. And then that are the results that we got about the different type of tourist activities that shows you the interaction with the people, or how they feel the place for themselves, and what things they want to improve to get better. For example, one idea I brought just from this trip to Colombia is that, for example, in La Tota Lake, they have a small community, about 200 people, and they have the sewage discharge system in the town, but all the water without treatment was going directly to the lake. What they did between an NGO and another NGO from Germany, they built up a natural filtering system for the water discharge. Actually, the water goes to a place, they have a septic tank, and then the water goes through plants for 3 or 4 days, more or less is the residence time of the water. And then, finally, what happens is all the filtered water goes in the same channel that before was discharged in the sewage. Now it's really good water coming out of this filtering. So that's so one of the things I plan to do is just to try to export that idea to this place and have the first place in the country where they have a natural filtering system for their water discharge, and they reduce the pollution in the lake. So that's it. If they take this solution, no, it's an advertisement for themselves. You increase tourists just to show them you have a natural, you preserve your lake because you take care of, for example, of the sewage. Yeah? So that's the kind of ideas or solutions you can provide to the people, especially small groups, to help themselves. So that's I don't know, still I didn't have time to talk with them, but I will try to convince them to do that. Well, that's the conclusions. I will not go through those details. You can read it in the presentations if you want. This is very boring part. This is a boring part. So this is the part where you can sleep. Okay. And now this is another study. This is a postdoc that worked with us. I'm getting to the final part of the presentation. This is a study in the province of Corrientes, in the north of our country. No, this is a study that Felix Contreras, he is analyzing the dynamics of shallow lakes within dune barriers. So trying to figure out what is here. But within his work is analyzing the evolution of these lakes and how this impacts in the people living over there. For example, we have a case in the Buenos Aires province, a little north of where we live, in which something like in the 30s, in 1930, they built a town. It was called Epecuén. And then I remember reading a work by our really most important naturalist, Florentino Ameghino, in the end of the 19th century, explaining that place was a very, just like a endorheic area, in which water that goes over there never leaves. No? And they built a town during a period of a dry period, no? And then in several times, the water started to move up, and then the whole town was completely covered by water. No, I don't know if you have a chance to see an advertisement by Red Bull. Red Bull, they did an advertisement using a very expert cycle guy that was jumping on top of around the buildings and doing that. If you find out in YouTube, it's extremely good, and you can see the town. It's a ghost town, because the water go down, and you have the ghost town. It's an incredible place. Well, he was doing something similar to this place. This is a lake, a very small lake, in 2006 and 2017. No, just to give you an idea of the changes in the surface of the place. So look what this was in 2010. And this in 2010 they started to build houses because it was was low water over there. No, then it started to in 2014 you have one of the houses was already covered by water, because they didn't pay attention they didn't pay attention to the history of the place. No, and look, that's the type of the the conditions of the houses in this area. That's the house, and how they got water inside of the place. And now, in 2016, all the houses that were built in 2014 got inundated, flooded, because they didn't pay attention to that. And that's a problem with many places, at least in Argentina, but I think in many places, because this is being done by the real estate people. Because they sell you land under the water. There is a town in the coast of Argentina, it's called Mar Chiquita, in which 6 blocks of the city are at 3 meters below the sea. Because the rate of erosion on this area is 5 meters per year. So, so people sold, so you see the catastro, the distribution of the town, 6 blocks of the town are underwater. That's the way they destroy. So that's the kind of things and normally it's the poor people, sometimes the poor people that goes and builds over there because they don't have other place to go. But I'll show you that's not always the truth, because that's something interesting. They did in this other lake, this built a private country, private, how do you call un barrio privado, private quarter, with very high-class houses, yeah, and then servers, and then they got flooded. They too, So, well, that's another. Well, we also work with historians, for example, and this is another thing. For example, we work. We have a study we work with the Senguer Basin. Do you remember this lake? The one who was drinking this morning. Well, we tried to figure out the story, but one of the things we were understanding is what happened with the natives, the original people that were living over there. How was the history of this lake along the cartography of our country? And what we found is the explorers were using the native people to go to show them the path, the areas, etc. And there was a very interesting thing, because when you read the histories, books or papers written, it was very funny because the Indian, the natives, were crossing all the Patagonia, from the Andes to the coast, and they were reaching the place completely fresh. They were doing something like 400 kilometers, and they were reaching without any problem of water. Where normally in the Patagonia, you have a terribly arid area. No? Well, they have this lake hidden to the white people. They didn't show the lakes. So they were always carrying the explorers, the 19th century explorer, even the beginning of the 20th centuries, just for different places, but they never showed them the lake. So nobody knew about the lakes. So and if you follow the history of what they're written, and we finally found out, there's a paper that's been published in Magallania, it's a Chilean journal, in which we were looking for all the historic maps and how the different people believe how the lakes were, how they changed the names, and that kind of things. That's a kind of interesting, that's an aside work. That's a fun thing to do. Well, other thing we do, for example, we have a project within this Safer project in which we are trying to do what we call sister lakes, brother rivers. Kind of a similar thing like the sister cities. Do you know about that? Have you heard about those? Well, most cities in the world have a sister city. But we are trying to do sister lakes and brother rivers. In the sense, we are trying to put together groups of people living in a lake from North America, from people in South America. For example, we are working with the Lake Sunapi, which has the longest NGO in taking care of a lake. It has 110 years old. They have their own research facilities. It's like a miracle organization over there, trying to put together the people from La Salada, the people that was talking with this tourist type of project, try to put together them in and try to exchange. Not only exchange knowledge, experience, even exchange people. So people or students going one place to the other. Try to work on that. We are also trying to work with the San Joaquin River in California, with the Sauce Grande River I showed you before, and we have another that is still too far away, the Lake Tahoe near Nevada, near Las Vegas, with Lake INCLINE in Guatemala, for example. There are other things. So that shows you the two lakes. This is Sunapi and La Salada. And I think that's about the last thing is what we do with working with schools.
Only a little thing. The name of the lake in Guatemala is Atitlan.
Atitlan, yes, you're right. I wrote it wrong. I wrote it by memory. I forgot. I did it wrong. Yeah, you're right. And then we have, for example, we have a group, a couple of people in our group that is working with schools, for example. And then one thing we do is go every year and work with the students and help them to take measurements, use the data from the buoy, and work together with them, for example, and they use the data for the science fair. They do normally every year, but we make tours along the lake and have people that talk about the birds, about the fauna, about the geology of the place, how this lake was created, that kind of things for the kids. And what we do is just give them every year a kit with sensors. Yeah? So we give the kit, and so the kids go every month with the teachers and go and take measurements of the lake with this kit. And then they use the data for their own science fairs, for example. And they get really very enthusiastic. And this is the kind of activities. For example, this is Rose, is an English woman that lives over there, knows a lot about birds, and she is telling them all about those stories, and the kids taking measurements, sampling phytoplankton, etc. Here, the first time we were giving them the kit, and these are kids in the fair presenting the results. They got the first prize, one of this group. And the last thing we do is we have books for children. These are books written specifically trying to provide through a story that they give them the information about how to preserve the water. For example, this is a story of a girl. It's for really elementary school kids that found a pink brush in a palafito in the Ciénaga Grande, and went through all the places with her sister to find the owner, the other girl that was the owner of the pink brush. And so through that story, she was with some pictures that seemed they were fine. And you have the version in Spanish and English. And this is the last one. We are ready right now. Come out in press. This is a science fiction novel for young adults, in which is you have a story of two sisters trying to go back in time, try to save from the big pollution in the world, those kind of things. So really, it's a very interesting, very fast reading. Not because my daughter wrote it, So that's it's really good. Anyway, and the other author, I go back. The author is Anna Harmon, which is the daughter of another researcher for a project. They are writers, so they want to write the books. You can buy those, to Amazon, those kind of things. But we are not getting the money for ourselves. The money goes to the project, and we use that money to print more books or buy more things for students. So we don't get any, neither the authors, neither us get any royalty ourselves. No, so it's the kind of results of this project. And well, that's probably my last thing. So nothing that was here serious could not be done without a smile. That's things I learned from my student Felix. And be sure that lakes are always checking on you. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know how are we with time. The timekeepers have left. we can keep going. Okay, yeah.
Can
Do you have any questions?
Yes, Professor, excuse me. Thank you for your talk, and also I would like to compliment you for understanding the value of working with social scientists, because normally we are very not recognized by natural scientists. And also to compliment you for managing to work together. I come from a department where its mission and intention should be to do interdisciplinary work, but very few people manage to do that. I would like to ask you, with those communities that you work with, do you go back to them to check on the status of your work, the development, how is...
Yeah, we try. It's not easy always.
And also I would like to ask you, how often do you go back? And also, last question, if you have ever worked with the methodology of scenarios within those communities?
No, we didn't. With that, my last question is no.
Okay.
Probably I'm not clear enough what are scenarios, but I never heard the word within the people. Probably they do. I didn't realize. I just don't think I know everything. One thing is. Second is we try to keep track of what they do, and it's not always possible, because the problem is that we normally get together some of these communities together for these meetings, and you see we for these meetings we have this carrot issue in which we bring food, and sometimes we don't have money to bring food. No, so it gets difficult to get that together, but at least we track with people that are representatives of those communities what they are doing. Sometimes are good. For example, the fisherman community in Bahía Blanca and in Montermoso and Pehuenco, actually even the governmental issues actually split out them. Not because they were not well together, but some decisions, especially because the two municipalities are different parties, political parties, so they really didn't talk to each other and didn't help too much to blend the community enough. So that's a problem. We talk with the two communities, but those things not always work. You see, you have some failures, of course. Not always is a success. And we are badly accustomed to show only the success and not the failures. Eh?
Thank
But, yeah. Another question?
Professor, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. I have a question about, well, as an example, you showed a project for the liquid natural gas plant port in the estuary, and you showed the conflict of jobs that would be lost and would cost $7 million. However, how do you fight, or how do you convince the oil company, for example, or the gas company, that it's not in their interest and they're going to make several times that amount with this liquid natural gas plant to go ahead with the project, and as well as that, they have, influence on government, via corruption that you also mentioned is a problem.
But
and
we didn't solve the problem ourselves, because doing that, that's a whole community of the Bahía Blanca that was completely opposed to that. So that's they back up the project because the people were enraged, and they were making a lot of problems, even some kind of legal activities to stop the dredging.
Okay.
We only work on the some estimation of one of the possible problems that will happen.
My question is more a general question. Using that as an example, how do you fight big oil companies and, well, also you mentioned ranchos, big farming, agricultural that use and abuse waterways, rivers or estuaries at the cost of the local communities. And I mean, you've shown some great techniques in working with the stakeholders, but when it comes to financial gains, often the scientific evidence that this is going to destroy the ecosystem is not important. So how do you deal with that challenge?
Well, you have a big example. Just look to the United States. Just the economy issues are defining the politics, the science politics for the future, for at least the next 4 years. But what we try, we don't fight again. We are not fighting the big oil companies or the real estate people. We are trying to raise the conscience of the community for them to have enough weapons, let's say, between quotes, of information, so they can do their own fighting. We are not going to fight for them. It's their fight. It's also our fight, but we are going to help them. Also, normally, my view is a little more pacifist, in the sense I try not to fight with them. I try to convince them that if they can, probably we cannot. For example, let's see, there in Bahía Blanca there is a huge petrochemical industry. During many years, they were doing a tremendous pollution of the estuary. So what they did, even by themselves, they changed completely the standards, and they have treatment plants inside of the plants that cost them a lot of money, and they basically do not pollute anything. The big polluters are ourselves, the sewage. The sewage plants are not treated in Bahía Blanca. And so the two channels that bring all the sewage water comes completely untreated. So all the pollution we have in the estuary, but still the people think that are the oil companies that are polluting. They don't think that the people, even the guys in a mechanic shop that drop the oil into the so what do you call the rejilla, a drain. They are doing much more pollution than they're doing the big company. because one drop of oil would contaminate about 100 liters of water. Yeah? So that's, think about, you never threw when you are frying your potatoes, never drop the oil into the sink. Just keep the oil in a jar and then throw it in the garbage. Yeah? Because the level of contamination you do with the oil that you use for frying is tremendous. But anyway, that's the kind of thing. You don't fight. You just try to convince them to participate, make them participate with you. It's much easier. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is only comment. I like too much your presentation, Professor. I need to include two political parties and local or national budget, because it is in few words, your presentation is about governance, and it is sustainable ways not for only for the project from one moment. It is for a long time.
Of course.
And just like your presentation, Professor.
Thank you. This is about education. I always think that everything is about education. Yeah? You see, we, as I told you this morning, I think, we are obligated, because we are in a better position to transfer what we learn, what the luck we had into having this kind of level of education, or the capacity to be here, for example. Not everybody can be here like you are, and to transfer this information and to the people with less capability or less luck that you have. That's very important. So education is very important, and we are obliged to help to educate the rest of the people. Anybody else? Yes.
Professor, what is your experience with the engagement of policymakers in these meetings, and how they respond to these meetings, and what can you improve in the future?
Normally, what we call policymakers or decision makers are more difficult people to attract. They don't get the carrot of the food easy. No, but you normally go and talk to them before the meeting, have a one-to-one discussions, talk to them about we're gonna check for knife and guns at the door, the kind of things. So, but it varies depending on the place. Sometimes the decision makers comes openly without any problem in some places. In others, you have to really do some convincing. Sometimes there are very few who come. Probably sometimes they send you a third grade level instead of coming the mayor of the city. But in some meetings we have the mayor of the city. So that was really good. In others, we have a third grade participant that didn't have any decision level, but we were hoping that he or she was able to send the information up in the scale. It's extremely variable, and you really have to. This is a lot of work. This is not sitting up, analyzing the data in your desk, and writing a paper. It requires a lot of time. It's a time-consuming, that you do not see them in the paper. You don't write about how many trips we did to Montermoso or Sierra de la Ventana or Pedro Luro, that are 100, 200, 300 kilometers just to go over there to talk with the people. Those are, you lose a day or invest a day, depends how you imagine the thing. But it's a time-consuming thing, and sometimes you don't get a paper out of it. So, but if you don't do it because you really are convinced that that's the way to do it, you will never do it. So it's a kind of change of mentality. So, and sometimes you have to go 2 or 3 times a month to go to talk to the people, because the mayor will receive one day, but another guy will not receive that day, have to go another time. They have another schedule, and you have your own schedule too. So those are kind of things that you really, and you have to have a group of people. We are lucky to have a really nice group of people. We are something like about 30 in our group, and we just change who's going to one place to another, the things. More or less, we have the works more or less tested, and that's the kind of thing you do. But it's a time-consuming thing. It's not always you see good results, but it's what you need to do. But it will change the philosophy of the people who review your papers, your performance. Because we are badly accustomed that we are going to, our performance is based on how many papers we publish. Even sometimes they don't care how good is the paper, as long as it's a high impact journal. But sometimes in your reports, you have to tell the people who evaluate you how much work you did in trying to get this probably Q3 paper, because you couldn't publish in a high-level journal. But it takes a lot of work. But it's something that is a decision that you make. You will never have to, you cannot work by yourself. You have to work in a team. And it's nice that you have a place like this, thanks to Tercio's ideas, in which you have the opportunity to contact people from the social science, the natural science, etc. You build a community. Some of my friends, which are now in a very high level positions, some are retiring from these positions, I started with them when I was studying, working in meetings like this, or in a congress, having lunch or breakfast with them, no? And they are my friends. I work with them for many years, just starting doing things like this. So you have the chance that I didn't have when I was a student, that knowing there were social science people. There was something, or biologists. There were I don't know, the people that I would not touch. But nobody told me that when I was a student. The things I learned when I was growing up. Now you have the chance to do, and you can start building your own groups with people from around the world to do this. You have this big chance. Not profit of it.
Thank you, Prof. As a social scientist, I love your presentation.
Shame for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There are some of the, especially in the slide where you were presenting results, there are some of those things that look like the situation in my country.
Yeah.
However, the one that most interests me is the number 2 points in the results, where we're saying that the results of the results inclined towards anthropogenic factors rather than climate variability issues.
Yeah.
There is a big problem along that line in my country. It revolves around the issue of cattle rearers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cattle pollutes the rivers.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't know if we ever undertake any research along that line. I want to learn from you what could be done. It's a big issue, and the legislators are even presently involved, but it's a complex situation.
Well, that is at least in my country. I don't know in many other countries. Sure, I don't know anything about your country. We have a legislation that you have to have what is called the, I don't know in English what is the name, it's the Sirga Road. The Sirga Road is a road that they were used in the medieval times for the people on land to pull the ships along the river, and so the owners of the fields had to live like 15, 20 meters along the side of the river, so the people who was pulling their ships didn't have anything to stop them. So that's the reason it's called the Sirga. That's the name of the marine, the navy type of, the marine type of name. But in a sense, that is still true today, because even though we do not pull more ships along the rivers, that is a public area that you cannot put wires along the river, crossing the river, because you actually are invading the land. So you have to have wires parallel to this area, so cows will not go to this area. This is called normally in rivers the riparian area, riparian zone. And the riparian zone is extremely important in rivers, because that is the filter for many of the things that happens in land. For example, you have just my daughter is coming back from the University of Vermont. She was working in the riparian zone in Vermont regarding the effect of the phosphorus transfer through the riparian zone to the rivers, no, and organic phosphorus, not phosphorus, organic phosphorus. And what happens is the riparian zone is actually a tremendous filter that will not allow many of, so especially in this area in northern United States and Canada, in which they use manure to fertilize the fields. So and the manure that they collect during the winter within the what do you call the establos, okay, the barracks where they keep the cows during the winter. They collect all the manure and they liquefy that, and they spread out in the fields. So that phosphorus and other nutrients that are being fertilized over there, they by runoff will go through the rivers. And then what happens is the riparian zone is actually the filter that retains much of this phosphorus or other nutrients that are not polluting the rivers and then are polluting the lakes. And when you have the lakes, when it gets into the lakes, they eutrophicates everything. Yeah? So that's the kind of things that you really have to care. And so the only way is just to have enough enforcement to avoid that the cows and other things go to the river for drinking or eating or whatever they do, because there's a pollution. It happens in every place. In my country, there's a lot of that too. So in these lakes, I show you these 200,000 lakes, are in the middle of the towns, in the middle of the fields. And cows walk freely around there. The good thing is some kind of endorate stuff, most of them, so will go only on the groundwater. So you will be happy about that. But the point is that still they get polluted and eutrophic because of all the cows we have. It's a serious problem, but it depends of the legal situation in your country and every country. I know it's a very difficult situation, but if you keep working with the local people, the local farmers, and teach them, you see, if you let the cow die in the stream here, your kid is going to get a sick 100 meters down because he's going to drink water from there. It's something like that kind of dramatic situation is what you have to teach them. Okay.
Okay. I think we have to move, but I thank you very much, Professor.
Oh, well, no, thank you very much. Thank you for your one.
Very nice indeed. Now, as you remember, as in your agenda, we have the session poster. So move to the poster area. Take your belongings there. The coffee break is also going to be there. So don't forget, we have divided in two groups. So the group that is going to present today has to be beside his poster or her poster, and the others have to really look there and stay around and try to get as much information as you can. Okay? Say it. I think we can. Yeah, you can bring it back later. Let's go there.